Hey everybody, the Reeswerrel here, and welcome back to more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Justice for All. Okay. It's time for the trial. Good morning, Max. Oh, yeah, good morning, sweeties. He still looks super nervous. You don't seem like your usual sparkling self today. I'm always like this before I go in front of an audience. I'm working up to it. Who the hell is the Oh! Regina! Don't get nervous, Maxie. Here, have a glass of milk. Regina! How fabulous! My sweetie pie! My sweetie pie princess. You came to watch my performance today? Of course I did. Mo told me that I should come and watch this. Mo said that? So what kind of performance will you put on today? Let me guess, you'll fly at the end. It's not that kind of show. Isn't that right, my sweeties? Huh? I think my sweetie pie princess doesn't... Yeah, she doesn't seem to realise what's going on. Or even where she is. Well, Max, it looks like it's time to raise the curtain. I'll see you later. Today I'm just a member of the audience. Oh my god. Fabulous! Enjoy yourself out there. Good luck, Max. You're the best. Okay. Regina's different, don't you think, Nick? Top of the morning to you. Oh my god. Everybody, let's get ready to get stuck in legal limbo. How low can you go? Mo! Okay, I'm trying to, like... Oh my god, my connection with the Wii U console is unstable. It's really crappy today for some reason. Don't know why. Top of the morning to you, Governor. Top of the morning. That's the ticket. Attack in the day starts with energy in the morning. The early bird gets the worm, but then again, worms lack higher brain function. Oh my god. Here, Max, I brought you a present. Have some milk. Oh my, thank you. Is it spoiled? So how are you today, right? Well, I've got the feeling that today I'm gonna face off against the real criminal. You mean Acro? Huh? You think he did it? Be careful. He's used to putting his life on the line. Literally. He's got guts to spare. If all I've got to worry about is how thin the tightrope is, I'm used to it already. Just means that I won't be able to press him like I can other witnesses. What are you gonna do then, Nick? I guess today we'll just have to do without our usual psychological warfare. Today we rely on evidence. It's the only way we'll get past Acro and to the truth. You're right, but it's gonna be tough. Anyways, I want you to make sure that Regina sees it all today. It's important. Then she'll finally have to deal with the reality of what happened to her father. You want us to make sure Regina watches? Yes. That's why I brought her here to court today. What's that supposed to mean? Oh yeah, Regina doesn't really understand how the outside world works. Oh, that makes a lot more sense now. I just assumed it was because she's dumb, but no, it's because she's literally only knows what the circus is. That's pretty much it. She needs to know that when people die, they don't just become stars. I may be an old-fashioned clown, but I don't believe in people becoming stars. Wait, oh right, so we're in the courtroom. Courtroom number 2! Well, there the bitch is. The court is now in session for the trial of Maximilian Galactica. The prosecution is ready, Your Honour. The defence is also ready, Your Honour. Very well. Miss von Karma, you may proceed with your case. The prosecution would like to revise its previous theory of events. What's the meaning of this? We have discovered a new witness, or shall I say, a new eyewitness. One that saw Maximilian Galactica fly off from the scene of the crime. How convenient. Order, order. I had a feeling something like this would come up. Due to this revision, we are now prepared to explain how the defendant flew that night. An explanation the prosecution will present if the need so arises. I don't know why that threw me off, but it did. In fact, my detective stayed up all night creating a mock-up of the scene on my orders. Poor Gumshoe. Ah, what a poor guy. Very well, please call your witness to the stand. Time to get to work. Or shall I say, time to walk the courtroom tightrope. Hey, it's Acro! Name and occupation? Ken Dingling, but everyone calls me Acro. I'm employed as an acrobat at the Very Big Circus. Where were you the night of the crime? I was in my room that night. If you look at the map, you will see the witness's room is near the crime scene. My room is on the 3rd floor, the crime scene is below my window. The night of the crime, the witness saw something quite shocking. Would you tell us what you witnessed? Okay. Testimony! What you witnessed? It was just after 10 PM, and I was resting in my bed. Around that time, I heard a large thump noise from outside the window. Ba-ba. Then a few moments later, I saw someone, flying, right by my window. It was Max Galactica. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. To be honest, when I saw that, I thought I was dreaming. This witness's testimony matches up exactly with that of the clown. If that's the case, there is very little the prosecution needs to add. Or need add. All that's left is to explain how the defendant disappeared into the sky that night. Whoa. Before we get that far, I'd like to cross-examine the witness. A foolish choice by a foolish fool who wishes to feel the foolish sadness of a sad fool. What the hell? A man must know the proper timing for things, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Just like your old friend, Mr. Miles Edgeworth, did. Miles Edgeworth. There. Mr. Wright, do you have a problem with the witness's testimony? In the words of Miss Von Karma, may I quote yesterday's proceedings? There's no way that actually happened. Very well, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Hooray! What'd you witness? Only thing I can think to press him on would be when he said who it was. So it's like, what can you tell us that would, you know, definitely say it was Max? There we go. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. The light in your room was turned off then, right? That's true. I was going to bed after all. So with the lights off, you were still able to clearly see a human fly by your window. The safety lights lit things up enough for me to see. Do you not draw your curtains? Sheesh. But honestly, there was only enough light for me to see the silhouette outside my window. It was the person's back, so I couldn't see the white roses on the front. Did you see any of the other symbols? Oh god, that face. I clearly saw the silk hat, as well as the cloak wrapped around his body. I'm convinced that the person I saw was Max Galactica. The more I press in, the less results I seem to get. But maybe there was something fishy with his latest bit of testimony. There's a contradiction. The silk hat was found at the crime scene, so how was it on the body that flew by the window? The body. How was it on the person that flew by the window? There's a huge contradiction with the testimony that was just given. Bum 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 bum. Oh, of course you would object. If there's a contradiction, then prove it with evidence. She's right. Let's see some evidence. Fine. God. Do you have any evidence to support your claim of a contradiction? I do indeed. The silk hat. Made to order fedora that is a symbol of Max's fabulousness. Found at the crime scene. Kaboom. You claim to have seen the exact same thing Mo saw that night. Do you stand by that? What do you mean? The silk hat. Oh my god. Communication with the Wii U is absolute shit. I'm not even that far from it. I'm maybe 10 feet away. Probably not even that far away. What about the silk hat? I saw it on Max's head as he flew by my window. Well, you should have tried looking down out of your window that night. That would have been quite difficult considering the state that I'm in. Just looking outside the window was a tough enough challenge for me. That's a shame, because you would have noticed the silk hat found on the scene. That's the ringmaster's hat, right? No. Afraid not. No matter how you look at it, this is Max's silk hat. Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright? Are you saying that Max has two silk hats? No, this is a handmade, one-of-a-kind model made only for Maximilian Galactica. Which means Acro didn't see a hat. That you've been fibbing on the stand. How could he? I mean, he's a witness in a Phoenix Wright game. Him lying is not exactly that crazy. Order, order! Like always, someone has to open their mouth before thinking. Are you okay, Nick? Well, I opened my big mouth, and now I have to back it up. How about it, Mr. Wright? What would cause this witness to commit perjury in this court? Acro is the real culprit. Your Honor, on this occasion the defense accuses Acro himself. Ooh, I like the music. On this occasion? Accuses Acro? What in the world are you accusing him of? Obviously we accuse him of the murder of Mr. Russell Berry. Mr. Wright, are you serious? Deadly serious, Your Honor. I think your trips to the circus have served you well. You seem to remember how to try and grab at an audience's hearts and minds. Your Honor, don't allow yourself to be swayed by theatrics. Trying to wow the crowd with smoke and mirrors is the oldest bluff in the book. Really? If you don't believe me, just look at the witness. He's calm enough for it to almost be scary. Oh my god, the bird. He is staying rather calm and collected. Mr. Dingling, do you have any response to the defense's accusation? I don't really need to say a thing, do I? What do you mean? Everyone, take a good look at me. I can't even stand up by myself, let alone leave the lodging house. That's true. I understand that Mr. Wright is just trying to help his client. But to do this by accusing me of a murder of all things... See? Even a sliver of common sense. Silver? Sliver, I'm assuming is what that was meant to be. That would have made more sense, I guess. Even a sliver of common sense makes it clear the accusation is ludicrous. Yeah, sliver makes more sense than silver. She's right, way to pick on the disabled, you heartless, cruel man. Phoenix is a... really? He's a poopy-head. See that, Mr. Phoenix Wright? If you're trying to drum up support for the from the peanut gallery, that's how you do it. I think that's enough of this little game. I've got a doctor's note to confirm that Acro is unable to stand under his own power. Maybe the defense is planning on making a claim to counter this as well. I can hear the defense now. Acro had an accomplice. What do you say about... Oh, hiccups. What do you say about this, Mr. Wright? Did he have an accomplice? Of course he did. No, he didn't. Now then, this must be when we get to hear the name of the mystery accomplice. Not this time, Von Karma. What? You're not going to sucker me into this one. What are you blabbering about, Mr. Wright? There was no accomplice. Acro planned and committed this murder all by himself. Order! Order! What are you getting at? Way to keep them on their toes, Nick. Now I'm gonna have to prove how it all fits together. I have to show how Acro murdered Russell Berry. Can you do it, Nick? Can you really do that? I know what I can't do. I can't stop now. If I stop attacking, I'm doomed. Alright, then let's do it. Mr. Phoenix Wright, if this witness is the killer, then his eyewitness account is all lies, right? Mr. Wright, I'd like you to clear something up for me. When the crime was committed, exactly where was Mr. Dingling? Oh. Well, he'd still be in his room. I don't know how they're missing it. His room is directly above where he was murdered. God, I'm trying to... there we go. He was obviously here the entire time. That's Acro's room. Pretty simple, eh? Acro wasn't able to leave the lodging house by himself. There's only one answer to that. Acro didn't leave his room to kill the ringmaster. Oh! What? Are you nuts? What are you saying, Mr... what say you, Mr. Dingling? He says nothing. It's an interesting theory. Oh. That's it? Considering that what you propose is impossible, yes, that's it. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? As the witness has stated, your assertion is impossible. As he is in a wheelchair, there is no way he could go to the scene or be the killer. You've got a point. It seems you've forgotten once again, Mr. Phoenix Wright. The defendant was clearly spotted at the scene of the crime. That's true. Mo said that he saw Max, didn't he? Oh god. Floating away. Well, Maya, it's still impossible for humans to fly. Do you mind if I ask a question, Mr. Wright? I think that said AA question. What is it? I understand some of your logic. However, how do you think that I killed him? If I can't leave my room, I obviously couldn't wear Max's costume. How did he do it? That's the next course of this illegal buffet. Be careful, Nick, if you mess up here. She's right, I can't mess up here. I've got to give this some serious thought. I'm sure that Acro killed the ringmaster. And he killed the ringmaster while he was in his room, no doubt about that. What about it? Time to enlighten us as to how Mr. Dingling committed the crime, Mr. Wright. Present evidence. I'm going to present some evidence. So what did Mr. Dingling use to commit the crime of murder against Russell Berry? I don't even know what the hell do I have. Oh wait, that's back at the back to the beginning. So we got the Grand Prix photo. That won't... Yes! He murdered him with this photo. There it is. That's how we saw the hat. Go. What's that? A picture? It is indeed. The problem is with the item that's shown in the picture. The bust. It's quite a large bust, and because it is life-sized, it's also very, very heavy. Heavy? Heavy enough to guarantee a certain death. Especially if it was dropped from a third-story window. Oof. Ah! Oh, serious face. See, this is how Acro was able to kill the ringmaster. With the force of gravity and Maximilian Galactica's ample bust. They'll probably ask, how was it in his room? Or how would he have gotten a hold of it? Something like that. Order, order. So you're saying the bust fell onto the ringmaster? A rather simple crime. Even if you were stuck in a wheelchair, it would be incredibly easy to commit. How could you possibly wheel a wheelchair with something so heavy? It's impossible. Well, Acro is an acrobat. That's true. He should have more than enough upper body strength to carry something like the bust. Mr. Dingling, how do you respond to these charges? With a very serious face. Well, Acro's at a loss for words. He should be. He knows that I'm getting close to the truth. Well, 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 Acro. You can't run away from things. I'd watch what I say if I were you, Mr. Phoenix Wright. What? Your Honor, the physical health of the witness is material to this case. I demand that we get proper testimony from the witness himself. Testimony, you say? On Karma? She's just using this testimony as a ruse to stall for time. There's absolutely no need for such testimony. The defense has its version of the murder, the prosecution has the right to respond. The defense's objection is overruled. Why can't he see things my way for once in a while? Mr. Dingling, I'm sorry, but we need you to testify about your physical condition. If you have any doubts about your ability to testify, we can request expert testimony. The witness will have no problems. However, let's all be respectful towards him. Thank you. That woman will sink to any low to win a case. Yes, she will. She is a Von Karma after all. Okay, so his physical state. I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Thus it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think? I have no doubts in regards to this witness's testimony. It was impossible for him to lift the bus and carry it over to the window. Not to mention that he could not have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Actually, he could have. A single false step would have led to even more severe injuries. That's what I was thinking. What is your opinion on the matter, Mr. Wright? I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination. He's simply stalling. It's shameful, really. I can't let her get to me. I've got to focus. No, he could technically know where he was from the wooden box. Because if he put it in such a place and knew that the ringmaster would try and lift it, then that would put him in a pretty good spot. Where is it? They says I didn't know where the ringmaster was. No one could have exerted that kind of force. To have known the location of the ringmaster. There we go. Where is this wooden box? Aha, there we go. Kaboom! I got it! I love how you know if you've got it right because the music goes silent. It's probably the best part. Acro. You didn't really need to lean out of the window, did you? What are you driving at, Mr. Wright? You already knew ahead of time where the ringmaster's head was going to be. Quite precisely, I may add. Oh, she's sweating. Your silly hinting at things is pointless, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Enough stalling. How about you show us some evidence? But I did such a good job hinting. Yes. Hurry up and explain things, Mr. Wright. Maybe you should take a look at this. Wait, that's a crime scene photo. Oh, whatever. The key point here is the wooden box. The same wooden box that the victim was found hunched over. The same. The question is, who placed the wooden box here? Who? When Penn and company saw the ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box. Which means that this wooden box was already placed at the crime scene. At the scene crime. Is that what it just said? Did that really just say scene crime? God, there's so many errors. But like, not so many, it's just, it's weird that there are so many. It's like they've got double A's, so it's like I'd like to ask a question. There's just a lot of very simple mistakes that somehow slip through, I guess, but I don't mind, it doesn't take away from the game, it's just funny. I have to admit that your theory makes a lot of sense. The moment that the bus came falling down was exactly the same moment that the ringmaster lifted up this wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear. You mean, if the bus were to fall upon the point marked out by the wooden box, there would be no way that it could miss the head of the victim. Really? Order! This is unbelievable! Finally, some of these loose ends are starting to tie themselves up. Now I just gotta keep going. There's only one way to go from here. Forward. Bum, 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 bum. So the next question I have is who placed that wooden box at the scene? It was Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, then all he had to do was lower it down. Ow! Allow me to whip some sense into you. Mr. Phoenix Wright. Oh my god. The ringmaster's head could have been anywhere when he lifted the box. That's why the box was so specially made. Specially made? Indeed. It had the most peculiar feature. Size of the box, the weight of the box. Yeah, it weighed a ton. Considering the contents was nothing but a thing of pepper. Was it pepper? I think it was pepper. The box has a remarkable weight. Weight? According to the court record, it weighs 20 pounds. Just to lift up this wooden box would have required... Oh, I see. One would have to squat down then lift it up with their body, wouldn't you say? That's exactly what I was trying to point out. The box is also very large. The box also has carrying handles on either side, doesn't it? That is correct. To lift up the box, you'd have to squat down. Which means that no matter who you are, your head would be in approximately the same place. Fool. Haha! What's his response gonna be then? Does she even bother to listen to me anymore? I've heard what you've had to say. Okay. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills. Did you drop it? Did you drop the bust onto the ringmaster? What are you talking about? Even if I had wanted to do such a thing, I couldn't. What? Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of this bust? I forgot. I forget. I kinda forgot. Nick! Don't tell me you're losing your memory already. No. Let's not get carried away. Hey, stick out your head a little. I've got just the thing. A Maya kick. Enough of that, no horseplay in this courtroom. And no kicking the defense attorney. According to the court record, the bus disappeared from the cafeteria. I'd like you to remember one important fact, Mr. Wright. I only chose I forget because I knew it had humorous dialogue. I could not possibly leave the lodging house by myself. That means... You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bus from my room. However, how would I have gotten the bus from the cafeteria to my room? Money! Money the monkey! You see, Mr. Phoenix Wright, explain that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. I mean, can an animal be an accomplice? Tell us exactly how the witness could have carried the bus from the cafeteria. Yep, we definitely have a problem here. But this is no place to get perplexed. I've got to get my wits about me and prove how things happened once and for all. Alright, Mr. Wright, let's hear your explanation. How did the witness get the bus from the cafeteria back to his room? The monkey! A monkey? Everyone knows Money. He loves shiny objects of any size. For instance, he stole the ventriloquist's ring. So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust? Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey stole it on his own and then brought it back home. Home? Money lives in Acro's room. Acro's room? Don't know why you're so shocked. Like, what? But the bust was bronze, wasn't it? Bronze isn't all that shiny. Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes and read the court record. Look at that. My, those are some very nice cards he's holding. Yes, and they are made of platinum, which is very shiny. Acro? Money is a strong monkey, right? Be easy for him to bring the bust back to your room. If he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new roommate. Okay. Order! I said order! Miss von Karma, where is the bust in question at this moment? I don't know. We're searching for it as we speak. This is a strange turn of events. If that monkey did not steal the bust, then what happens to this case? Well, in that event, something else must have been used as a murder weapon. Well, Or maybe this bust was the murder weapon, but it was used by accident. That's possible. Maybe Raku saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. He looks pretty pissed, regardless. Anyways, I think we've more than proven one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Acro was the murderer. Moron. Jesus. So, no, Mr. Wright's argument was so circular, I am still a bit dizzy. However, his argument does hold water, there's no denying that. Don't see so flamboozled. Especially by this fraud of an attorney. Fraud? You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright. And what is that? You should know. You forgot that your fraud of a magical client was spotted at the scene of the crime. Ah! There is no reason to doubt the clown's testimony. That's true. How do you respond to that, Mr. Wright? Nick, don't let her beat you now. I won't. This is my chance to turn this trial round. When the murder occurred, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry, and the other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. The clown saw the murderer. Who was it then? I present you the murderer. He saw Max's I asked, who was the other person Mo saw on the scene? The evidence has nothing to do with the question. Au contraire, mon frere. It does indeed have something to do with the question. Of course it does. Mo said that he saw Max's silhouette. But he did not actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw. I love this song. How is that possible? It's simple, really. What Mo actually saw that night was Max's bust. What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? The silhouette he saw just happened to be wearing a cloak. There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to the bust. Or a cloak like that could easily get snagged on the bust if they came into contact. Idiot, who in their right mind would put a cloak on a bust? It doesn't matter who put it on the bust. Just wait a minute now, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? That question is of the utmost importance to this case, don't you agree? Doh, he caught me. So let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? Russell. Fool, him? You're saying it was the victim himself, Russell Berry? That's what I'm saying. The victim himself placed the cloak on the bust. Placed the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it. Then what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright? Explain yourself. Nick, do you really have a handle on all of this? I'm fine, Maya. I'm finally putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyways. Alright. So you want to know what really happened that night? Let's step back in time. Haha! Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the scene. Then he attached that rope to the bust, and dangled the bust out of his bedroom window directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room and went to the scene. Of course, at the time the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than a ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben and Trilo. Bum bum bum. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. Ugh. Was he actually wearing the hat at that time or not? And that's when Acro took his chance to release the rope. Actually, when he lifted up went to lift up the box, the hat could have fallen off. And crack. Now this is when the magic happens. Is it gonna, like, animate it? At the very instant that the bust hit the victim... Oh, okay, so it was on the floor. There it is. Ba-ba. You wait just a second there, Mr. Phoenix Wright. As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true. It can't be. It's still a little early to be getting so upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet. Eh? I love how janky that looks. With the shock of the impact, it threw up the cloak and it got snagged onto the bust. That's when the sound was heard by a witness and he took a look out of his window. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Mo Curls, the clown. When Mo looked out of his window, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Mo saw the bust being raised with the cloak dangling on it. Primarily because in his wheelchair he couldn't see out of his window. So he just kept pulling the bust up. Look, magically it flies! And that is how the magical murderer disappearing into the sky came to be. Oh my god. Now you know how the murder actually took place. And now you know who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the scene. Acro, it could only have been you. And of course he has nothing to say. We're gonna get attacked by the bird. Acro's been playing mind games with all of us. He sure has. But he has come to the end of his rope now. So? What now? You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true? Evidence? In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and the power of my whip. Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence? Nick, they say they want evidence. I just explained how there can only be one possible murder method. There is still something unusual about Mo's eyewitness account. Unusual? A contradiction, actually. Okay, then use that and get out of this jam. Okay! That's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed, Mr. Wright. And this is Mr. Phoenix Wright. Present some evidence to the court that backs your claims. I want hard proof that you have unravelled the trick to this magic case. Oh god, what could I use? I mean, that shows him with the three symbols. Could I use the hat again? Because they saw a hat on something, but the hat was on the ground. That's my only idea. The problem is Max's three symbols. You know, the silk hat, the cloak, and the white roses? Those symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings. Yesterday there were two contradictions in Mo's testimony. The silk hat was one, the white roses were the other. But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions. You fool, do you ever shut up? Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Mo said yesterday. He testified that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Mo saw was actually the bust. Ba-da-da-dum. Makes sense. If you look at it that way, then he did see the silk hat. Well, sort of. Fine, you've got one, but what about the other contradiction? The other contradiction? Remember what that ventriloquist said in court? He said that he witnessed white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown said that there were no white roses. I'd like to see you try and explain that one anyway. Away. Can you do it, Nick? Of course I can explain all of it. What was that? Please recall the incident when the cloak snagged onto the bust. Oh. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, what happened to the white roses? They got hidden. Because of the way it fell. Ah. Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged onto the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust.